If there's ever a time to take a detour, it's when you see a superstar. It's the Kimology 411 Superstar segment, where Kim introduces you to awesome people and their amazing stories. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our latest superstar guest, along with our very own superstar, Kim Shows.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Kimology 411. And today we're doing another superstar segment with my friend, Dan Gryder. Hey, Dan, how are you?
What's up? How you doing, Kim?
Oh, I am doing awesome. I follow you on Facebook with all of your airplane stuff. And so just to let my fans know, Dan likes airplanes. He likes to fly. And they know I like to fly, but I fly in a different way. I fly on Southwest.
That's right. Yeah. Cool.
So anyway, I think it was probably about 5 years ago or so when we actually met. We have a mutual friend, Brooks, who you and him were putting on an air show in Topeka. And
right.
It was probably like on a Sunday before your event. Brooks contacted me and said, "Hey, I have a little favor to ask you." And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I've got like a 3 to 4 day event. I'm not exact, can't remember how many days it was. It's a Thursday to Sunday or Friday to Sunday, and we have a few hundred people that we need to feed breakfast, lunch, and dinner to. And I was going to just go to Sam's and just buy some snacky food. And then we thought maybe we probably should have some real food. And within the next 3 days, I set up an entire catering with our staff at the restaurant to provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so that's kind of how I got pushed in to the group that I got to meet over at the air show, which that's not even my job.
Yeah.
But
now you saved the bacon on that for sure. Brooks and I were a little bit short on planning, and the food thing we thought we had it figured out via a different thing, and that got messed up at the end. But you and your staff came through and fed 250 people for 3 days, and it was totally awesome.
Oh, well, and I had a great time. I love those kind of things. I would rather cater or work an air show than like go to one. I'm just a worker.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's awesome to be behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, you did a great job, but we didn't have any complaints on food or beer. That was totally awesome.
And those are the most important things that people will complain about.
Yeah, exactly.
So awesome. So from there, let's get into a little bit about like what you do. What do you do for a living currently?
Well, I'm retired from Delta Airlines, and I've been a flight instructor for 40 years. So I mostly just play with airplanes. I'm a 1099 contract pilot for a whole bunch of different people. So I just fly whatever airplane. I happen to be sitting up in Oshkosh today. I brought a DC-3 up here yesterday and flying another one out tomorrow, most likely. And I just go from airport to airport. I may fly as many as 50 different airplanes per year. Most of them I've never seen before, and most of them I'll never see them again. So I just hop in it, figured out what it is, and it could be anything from jets, turboprops, really any kind of airplane that needs moved. Or sometimes people need flight instructions, so I'll help somebody that maybe just bought a new airplane or bought a warbird and they need 3 days worth of training. So that kind of stuff.
Awesome. And how did you decide that you wanted to become a pilot? Like, was there something that you'd like to fly? Was there a story?
No, not really, other than the fact that growing up, we lived kind of underneath the traffic pattern for an airport. And growing up, I was just always fascinated with it. So I started saving my lawn mowing money when I was 15 years old and started buying a flight lesson, which in those days, a complete flight lesson for the airplane, the gas, and the instructor and everything was $26 for 1 hour of flying. So I would save up, lawns were about $2, maybe $3 a piece. So it took me 12 or 13 lawns to save up for 1 hour's worth of flying. So I just started doing that.
Oh my goodness. See, now that's kind of cool because I mean you already had like a goal as opposed to being the next pair of tennis shoes or the next piece of candy. You were set to achieve something awesome.
Well, it's interesting. I did not have it as a goal. I just knew that I liked it. So I didn't have any goal of like becoming a pilot. I just knew that instead of blowing money on stupid stuff, I thought it was really awesome to be able to ride my bike to the airport. And I literally laid my $26 down on the counter in $1 bills. And I did not have a goal. I just knew that I really liked it. And every time I took a flying lesson, I'd go home and cut more grass.
Wow. And so a lot of times, and you said it was at 15? Is that what you said? So at 15 years old, a lot of kids are still like, Mom, this is what I want to do. Mom, this is what I want to do. And then mom and dad pay for it. Do you see a difference of them going, yeah, here's the $26 as opposed to you earning it yourself? Did that make a difference, you think, in your mind?
I think it did, and I think it still does today. That's a fine balance that any parent crosses on providing versus over providing for a kid. And in my case, I didn't really have any choice because we didn't have any money. So our family was not dirt poor, but we were not wealthy. So the notion of flying lessons was, there was 3 kids in our family, and we had shoes and clothes and bread and milk, but spending back then, $26 was a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's like $200 today.
Right.
So it was a big deal, but I think there is a big difference. And the fact that it was not attainable and caused me to have to be creative on, if it takes $26 to go fly, how can I get $26? And, cutting grass, well, I had paper outs and, fruit stands and anything I could do as an entrepreneur in those days, all tax-free. Just collecting cash in the form of $1 bills until I had my little pile built up, and I'd ride my bike out and lay my money back on the counter again.
So I was quite the entrepreneur when it came to money, except my entrepreneurship came from, I was the only one with a car. And so when they got in my car, they had to hand me gas money to do it. Well, my mom had already given me gas money to fill up the tank. So I charged all my friends gas money, and then I would just go deposit that money into my savings account.
Yeah.
Like $7 at a time. Like, here's $5, $7. And so one day, my dad was in my car fixing something, and he found my savings account book. And that's back in the day, there used to be a passbook. And so
I remember that.
They would write on it, be like $7 or whatever. And then it would give you the balance of how much money, kind of like a register. Yeah. And I came home from school one day, and my dad had my book was laying on the table, and I didn't think anything of it. And they sat down with me and they were like, what are you doing for all of this money? Like, where's this money coming from? Because I just went to school, and I think they thought I was doing illegal stuff. And I'm like, that's gas money that people pay me. Yeah. It's kind of like I'm a service. And they were like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. And my friends still talk to me about that. I was like, I need $1. And back then gas was 29 cents a gallon. So. Right.
Well, you've always been a little bit of an entrepreneur from what I know of you. You've always figured a way to find some way to make a buck on something.
Yeah. My friends still always say, when they get in my car, they're like, do we have to pay you for gas?
Yeah.
No, it's okay. But yeah, so I think back at entrepreneurs now, I think we've always been entrepreneurs our whole entire life, coming up with how things work. And so I think that's awesome. And so you said you worked at Delta. So that was just flying passengers or?
Yeah. Yeah, just Delta pilot. So I did that, flew almost 20 years, and retired as a captain. And now I just mostly play with airplanes and do a lot of DC-3 stuff. Still do some warbird stuff and miscellaneous airplanes. So it's, I've had a pilot's license now for a little over 40 years. So I've got a little bit of experience in a lot of different types of airplanes. So.
Right. And so I've noticed on there, do you have 2 sons? I'm not going to remember. Is it 1, 2? I remember that you have at least one son, because doesn't he fly?
Yeah, both kids fly. My older son just graduated from college, and he's now a jet co-pilot. Actually, he's just upgraded. He's a jet captain now. In fact, ironically, he texted me last night, needs a pair of captain bars for his uniform.
Oh.
And the uniform store is closed, so wanted to know if I had a pair of captain's bars. And he's now flying captain on a jet that I'm only co-pilot rated on, which is totally hurts my feelings of my own kid. I'm working for my own kid. If we flew together, he'd be left seat and I would be putting the gear up and down for him. Crazy.
And I bet he loves that though.
Oh, he loves it. Loves it. Yeah, 2 sons, Dylan and Drew. Dylan is a junior in college, and he also flies. And then Drew's a graduate University of Georgia, and he's out flying the charter business. He's a charter pilot, so the charter business has been extremely busy in this COVID season here. So he's been flying a lot.
I have flown once during this. I went my one trip in May, which is my Dallas trip, got moved to June because May it was still just kind of up in the air for Dallas and my friends, because they've got their 90-year-old grandma that lives with them. And so I moved it to June or whatever. And like I said, I have Southwest card, so I do my Southwest points and fly down on my Southwest. And I had a great time with only 90 people on the plane.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know how the airlines are going to make it through this, because like nobody here, but the flight was good. I mean, there's no snack. I mean, they gave snacks, but a can of water. So it's a little bit different, but you have to be kind of flexible during this stuff. I love to fly to my destination and just get there so I can start what I'm doing. And I had to cancel my Florida trip, which made me sad, but we drove to Kentucky instead because different people that I visit, they're in hot spots evidently with this COVID stuff. So I haven't got to do that as much, but I did get to fly once, and people were like, I can't believe you're getting on a plane. Excuse me. And I'm like,
excuse me, I got a little bit of COVID myself.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
You might just have a minor case of the COVID right now.
I could, or I could have.
And people listening to your podcast can actually get the COVID from your podcast. Did you know that?
Well, the ones listening to it, we're just going to tell them we have masks on.
Yes. Oh, we definitely have masks on. But you can electronically transmit the virus to podcast listeners.
Yes, you probably can.
You're infecting people right now.
I am. I'm infecting them with my humor. I'm infecting them with my laughter. That's what I infect people with.
There you go. Yeah, well, your computers had a virus before, right?
Oh yeah. I have to triple code it with like 3 different antiviruses. I'm very paranoid.
Yeah, well, yeah. Gotcha. Well, the virus thing has definitely taken a toll on everything.
Yeah.
For sure. But I've been flying a lot, both on the airlines and the little airplanes. So I haven't had any problems. I don't do masks or glove. I don't actually believe in the virus as a thing. It is an actual virus in my opinion.
Right.
But it's not near as deadly as what was once proclaimed. And I haven't ever worn a mask or gloves, or actually it's been several years since I've washed my hands. So
can't say that I have not. I'm allergic to Lysol and all those disinfectants and stuff. I use like stuff. So I have not Lysoled anything down the whole time. I wear a mask if I want to go into a place that requires a mask, if it's my place, or I just don't go into it. So there's a few places that I'm like, I'm not ever going into your place because you're kind of mask Nazis. But I too believe that we're smart enough. And before we got here, I was listening to a girl who deals with HIV patients, and she was on Z-Dog, and she was like, I believe that masks are important, but that's something that you could wear at any time during it does help spread, but why would you want to? But she said, we have to quit yelling at people and telling people that they're going to kill people by not wearing a mask. That never has ever, ever, ever been the right way. It was like telling gay people back when HIV came out, you guys can never have sex again. You guys are killing people. All gay people are bad. And you really, it wasn't positive. So I don't think that COVID stuff has been done correctly when they tried to use fear, and then people who are fearful use it as a defense to be able to, I don't know, because I'm not a feared person. So
well, I've been going around this whole time trying to catch the virus. I'd like to have it just to get it over with. So if anybody can infect me, I'll take it. I'd like to go ahead and get the virus and get it over with so I can press on.
One of my friends,
seriously, I've been going around licking doorknobs. I've been shaking hands and licking doorknobs every place I go, hoping to catch the virus.
Are you picking up the gum off the ground, chewing the gum?
I've been doing everything. I've been kissing dogs, chewing used gum, licking doorknobs, everything I can think of to try to catch this virus, and I haven't been able to get it yet.
Well, maybe you already had it and you were asymptomatic.
It could be.
I mean,
could be. It might be B symptomatic or C symptomatic. I'd hope that I was asymptomatic, but I've never done very much that achieved me an A.
Maybe A minus symptomatic, B plus symptomatic.
A B plus. I'm just an average guy. I'm just average. I hope for average. Mediocrity is my goal. I'd like to achieve mediocrity eventually, but so far I haven't even. Yes.
So you're more at the D plus symptomatic.
I'm a D plus, yeah.
D plus.
But I try harder.
You try. Well, I mean, you got goals. You got something to achieve. Once you get all the way up to A plus, where do you go?
I'm never making A plus. If I can achieve average, that would be spectacular.
Now I like to be a little bit above average. But sometimes average is really low, so that doesn't really.
Yeah. I'm one of those guys that brings down the average.
Oh.
The average is the average, right?
Right.
The average is take a bunch of samples and you average it. So I'm in that pool. I just bring the average down is what I do. Way down.
Are you the one where the teacher takes off the highest score and the lowest score? They have to take your low score off?
Yeah. Mine's the one that gets thrown out. That's what I contribute to the team right there. Say, hey, I'll take this test.
I'll take it.
I'm going to be the low guy here.
I'll take it for the team.
Yeah, I'll take one for the team here. It's easy. I excel at that. I can fail a test without any preparation. It's easy.
You know, even if you went down all the way, sometimes people answer C and they still come out with like a B. You're like, how did you do it? I just guessed. How? Yeah, I get it. Oh my. Well, one of the things that I noticed on your Facebook is in Georgia, you had said there's 15 fatalities in 15 days in September. I don't really know too much about airplanes and stuff like that. Are those like the small airplanes that you were talking about, like the 1 and 2?
Well, that's what we call, that's general aviation. That's everything except the big boys. So that's little airplanes. And that's not Georgia. That's in the continental United States.
Okay. All right.
So,
good.
Yeah, the NTSB keeps track of that data, and historically 14 fatal plane crashes per month was considered a peak. That's one every 2 days in a month was very high. We've gone months as little as 10 fatal accidents per month on occasion, but in the month of September, the first 15 days of September, we had 15 fatal airplane crashes in the first 15 days of September. We're batting 1,000. If at that rate, we'd have 30 fatal airplane crashes in 30 days. So for whatever's causing the trend, we are, and for every fatal airplane crash, you've got at least one person, sometimes two or three or four. You know, in September, we lost several airplanes that had a complete family on board. Everybody died. So
Right.
some crazy stuff there. But yeah, I've been tracking that stuff. That's been kind of a hobby passion of mine, getting some of that stuff changed and developing some new programs. I'm trying to get the little airplane drivers to copy what the big people did many years ago in developing a program, a safety program, where they actually came up with a good idea and it actually worked for the airlines. And the same philosophy is still available to the little airplane people if they will adopt it on a voluntary basis. So that's what I'm working on next. And
Awesome.
we've already done quite a few videos, and I got quite a few free. It's all free. There's no cost to anybody to participate. But I've done all the research, and basically the concept is that I go through and figure out what are the common ways to kill yourself in an airplane, and I developed a training scenario for each one of those so a person can go out and practice and get good at not getting killed in that particular scenario. And as
Gotcha.
it turns out, there aren't any new ways of killing yourself in a little airplane. They're always one of the same 18 methods.
Right.
So I printed those 18 methods and made a free 40-page PDF explaining each. And I know it sounds morbid to talk about, but each method of killing yourself in an airplane,
No.
here's how the guy died, here's what he did wrong, and guess what? The next airplane accident that you hear about that's going to occur tomorrow, that guy will kill himself using one of those 18.
Right.
So the idea is, why not learn about the 18 and read about them and go out and practice and kind of bulletproof yourself knowing what's about to happen to you?
Yeah, like, so I always say to be proactive as opposed to being reactive. It's
Yes.
like, so if this is known, then you're not, it's, I mean, it does sound like you don't want to kill yourself this way, but if you need to know, like, if there was something you could have done differently, you probably should know it before you get into that situation.
Yes, it
And
really is.
go ahead.
What's really interesting is you with you, Kim, in Topeka, you are a member of the human race. No matter what you believe politically, religiously, anything else, your brain is specifically wired a certain way. And I can tell you exactly how it's wired because it's wired the exact same way that every other human being's brain is wired in this particular regard.
Right.
And that has to do with what your reactions are during time of crisis. Doesn't matter who you are or what color your hair is or how you paint your toenails. If I put you in this situation and you're not expecting it, this is how you're going to respond. No doubt about it.
Right.
The difference is if you become aware of that and get trained, you can actually train your body to react the opposite way and do the correct thing. So all these people that die in an airplane, the first time they encounter this scenario, they do what feels natural to them, and it's the wrong thing. And within 3 seconds, it's over, and it's not fixable. So the point is to educate more people about that scenario and how to train yourself. Within an hour or two, you can go out and practice and unteach your body
Right.
to do it the wrong way. You can actually condition yourself to respond the correct way. but you have to read about it, know about it, and go practice it. So just the same way Pavlov's dogs were trained. We Pavlov dog trained the pilots to do it the correct way, and that's what I'm working on right now.
Well, and the small, like so you go out and like, I'm going to get a plane and a pilot's license just to fly to St. Louis for dinner or do something like that. They don't get in like the simulators, but there's simulators like when you're in the military and stuff. Don't those simulators kind of give you all the different things that could happen? Like, I mean, I watch TV, so I don't know if it's really there, but to be able to fly and it'd be like, okay, so this happens and now the gas went down or the fuel is doing this. And so they teach them what they're supposed to do. Is that real or is that just television? I don't know.
No, the simulators do a good job. It's just that the simulators aren't available for the little guys.
Yeah.
So we use the real airplane as a simulator,
right.
And we go out and actually practice. So we can achieve the same result even without simulators. Simulators are more of a financial tool.
Right.
We could do the same training basically in an airplane. If you wanted to take a Boeing 747 out and train pilots in it, you could. But the gas cost and the maintenance costs far exceed. You could pay for 10 simulators within 10 days of flying the actual 747. So simulators are a financial tool for the large companies, but we can achieve the same effect with the actual airplane with our little guys.
Right.
And so that's why it's down to an educational process and me speaking to groups and going on Kimology 411 podcasts.
That's right.
To try to encourage people to, I mean, it's like the saying with I didn't invent the chicken sandwich, I just invented the chicken. Right. Or maybe it's the other way around. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich.
Right.
And that's what Chick-fil-A says. I didn't invent how your brain works. I'm just telling you that's how it works. There's no debating. That's what you're going to do. Now let's recognizing that is the deal. Let's take that information and use it to our advantage so that we don't die in the airplane. It's really simple, and I think it's worth the effort. I mean, we're talking about whether you live or die. If you fly an airplane, you're probably going to die in this deal if you don't know about it. Why would you not? It's not like I'm charging $1 million for this information.
Right.
It's free.
Yeah.
It's totally free. Why would you not at least want to read about it and know about it?
Well, and one of the things, like I work with manifesting, and I've got actually a business and a life coach, and we always talk about retraining your brain, because your brain basically has it knows what it knows, and it also kind of makes things up, and that you have to repeatedly tell your brain, no, I like to use this, no, do this, no, do that, and your brain actually will change on how you maneuver things. I mean, it's like driving in a car. I'm not ever going to try to drive in rush hour traffic in like Dallas. I could, but my level of stress would be up here. But people that are down there have learned how to drive. I mean, you have to learn how to do the different stuff, like driving around, or the traffic, or cutting in and out, not using a blinker. I use a blinker, and people, when I'm down in Kansas City, just get over. I'm like, that blinker's taken. I'm like, but I need to use my blinker. Well, they don't use it. So you can become comfortable, but if you don't take the time to do it, then no, you're not going to do it. And like you said, you could potentially kill yourself and everyone on the plane. So are there any plane, like any crashes that you like? I just loved John F. Kennedy. Like, I wrote papers on John F. Kennedy. I don't know why. I was just infatuated. Then I went down to Dallas, and he's just one of those things. Is there like a plane crash or something that really just got your attention, that just you kind of like OCD'd about, that you were like, I got to look into and figure this out? Or is that something that you do when you hear of something like Kobe died in a plane crash? Is that something that you kind of like go in and try to do your own little research, or do you just kind of sit back and let the people tell you what's going on?
Well, it's turned into a hobby slant amateur investigator deal. It started with a plane crash 15 years ago where I lost a student of mine, a young man that died in an airplane. And same thing, he responded, and it was my fault. I had not ever trained him to overcome this phenomena because I'd never thought about it before. And he made a takeoff in his airplane, had an engine failure, and the airplane crashed and killed 3 people. And that was kind of the catalyst that started the thought process. I mean, I was just shocked that this could even happen. And then right after that, the internet happened. And I started becoming more and more aware of how many other people are doing the same thing. So it's evolved over the last 15 years. And yes, I'm an amateur investigator, but now that I've taken it this far, I've put hundreds and hundreds of hours into this thing trying to figure this stuff out. And last weekend, I was in Santa Monica and I went to the Kobe Bryant crash site and I stood in the spot where Kobe Bryant died, where the helicopter impacted the ground. And I went out there to see that spot, to look at the data and figure that out. And that's one of those things I had to have some personal closure on that one myself. I wanted to see the shape of the crater made by that helicopter when Kobe Bryant's helicopter hit it. I wanted to see it. And I learned a tremendous amount off of that visit as well. But yeah, I've been to 50 crash sites, and any airplane that crashes in America, I get a text normally within 10 or 15 minutes after the crash has happened. I'm all set up on an alert system so I know where they are, who was flying it, what the end number was, and what the conditions were at the time of the crash. So I track all that stuff. NTSB data takes years for it to come out. My data comes out daily. I log this stuff, and most of the time, I won't say all the time, but most of the time, I've already reached my conclusion based on the information that I have. It's going to fit in one of those 18 buckets, and there's only 4 of those 18 that are super, super common. Just keeps happening over and over and over again. So, yeah, I can't say conclusively that this is what happened to the guy, but from the witness reports, it's daytime, the weather's good. The witnesses saw him take off. They saw him get to 300 or 400 feet. They heard the engine quit, and then they saw this airplane do a half a turn, and the airplane impacted vertically into the ground. Well, I know which one that one was.
Right, right. Well, and see, and that's why you're a superstar, because
Yeah.
a lot of people, they just go on with their lives, and you are trying to help prevent things that could be preventable and taking the time. That's awesome.
We're trying, and I don't have a YouTube channel, but I've commandeered myself onto about 12 other aviation YouTube channels, and I'm always a guest appearance on somebody else's stuff trying to get the message out here, because the government is not doing it for us. The government is not helping to get the word out. They collect all the data, but they never reach a conclusion, and there's never any recommendation. What could the next guy do to not do what this guy did? It's like the Kobe Bryant crash. We already know what he did. Why couldn't we put out a bulletin and say, here's what he did. Make sure you don't do this because you killed 9 people on this accident alone, and this is totally preventable. But you'll never hear a word out of these guys. They're going to reach a conclusion eventually on what Kobe Bryant's helicopter deal was, but there won't be any change come out of it. It's going to be business as normal. Everybody's going to forget about Kobe, and there won't be any positive change comes out of it.
Well, and that's a sad thing, but that's why we have people like you, and there's a lot of other people in the world. Myself, when I see something, I don't just go to a meeting and go, man, we should really fix it. I just try to fix it. Like I try to all right, let's get this done. If somebody says something to me, I say, oh, by the way, you could go over and talk to this person. Or if somebody says, I have the connections, because I've always want to make it better. And it's although you probably kind of take it as like a hobby, because it's not like it's not like you're hired to be paid billions of dollars to do this. It's the fact that you have a heart and you want people to love what you have been able to do for as long as you've been able to do it. And that doesn't happen
Right.
if you're not trained correctly.
Well, the unique thing about this is that, I mean, there's all kinds of phenomena that occur out there. There's not very much I could do about the virus. You know, we just had a hurricane come through the Gulf. I can't fix a hurricane, and there's going to be some death and destruction off of a hurricane. I know there is. I don't know anything that I could fix to change a hurricane. And the airplane thing, I know a lot about it. The ironic thing is that we could actually fix this. We could actually make a huge difference, just like the airlines did. The airlines achieved an 87% reduction in fatal accidents by the program that they developed. General aviation, we really could save a lot of lives, and that's the category that this is in. This project is fixable. It definitely is. I'm not much on all those other things, politics and the virus and stopping a hurricane. I got no idea. This is, I'm passionate about it because I know we can do this. Without a doubt, we can fix this.
Right. Well, and there's some things you can't get fixed, but there are a lot of things that other people should be fixing, that they're getting paid to be fixing these things, but they don't. And it takes people like us who are just like, you know what, never mind. You do you. I'm just going to do this on my own. And
Yep.
we need more people in the world that'll step up and be like, I see how I can make a change in something like this. And this is huge because I believe, like with the COVID, are you, so you have the 15 fatalities, which is like double or whatever of normal, but do you believe that because of COVID, more people are taking their planes up more often or is it not, is it
No,
just the exact same?
no, it's not anything. There's no significant increase in flying. It's just pure dumb luck. But we got to fix this, and it's really frustrating because the U.S. government is virtually doing nothing. They collect so much money. The salary and insurance benefit package for each one of these government workers is crazy money. Crazy. 350 full-time investigators for the NTSB just to investigate these crashes. Each one of them making 150 grand a year minimum, plus insurance, retirement, and benefits. And we don't ever see any benefit out of it. I mean,
Right.
Can you imagine just putting one person on the payroll for 150 grand a year to do what?
Right. To sit around in a lot of meetings, back and forth.
Yeah.
Meet again.
No, we're not fixing anything. So I have a love-hate relationship with the FAA and the NTSB, and that's mostly that they hate me and I love to hate them, and it's completely mutual. I have no respect for those government organizations that are aware of the problem and they're fat, dumb, and happy in their chairs. They're not going to lift a finger. As long as they get their paycheck, they're good.
I found that out during the COVID stuff. So many people have big voices and big opinions, but yet didn't lose $1 of their salary, but they have no problem shutting everything down and taking away people's livelihoods and then telling people, you know what, you need to do this to be safe. It's in everything where people don't even stop and think. They don't even stop and think what they're saying or doing when it comes to opening their mouth and giving their opinion and telling someone who's about to close down and lose everything and lose their house, and as they're making tons of money, and they're trying to tell me or my clients and stuff how it should be. That kind of irritates me. And I deal with a lot of different organizations. It's not so much government, but they're political, who are supposed to be doing a job, and I'm doing their job for free, and they don't like me because I'm showing them up. And you're trying to be a good person, and these people are trying to tear you down, and it's not easy. So you have to have thick skin, and you have to be, you have to get your own podcast so that you can be
Well,
like,
that's how come I'm on your podcast. I'm out here to publicly say, I don't care much for the government. I don't care much for how they've handled the virus. I don't care much for how they handle plane crashes. And some of that needs to change. I mean,
yeah,
it really needs to change. But
we need to
I'm
change.
doing everything I can do. I don't really care what people say about me. I got thick skin. You can call me whatever you want to call me. That's fine. Or just don't call me. That's fine too.
I'm kind of the exact same way. I think as I get older, people think that I'm tough, and I'm not all that tough. It does hurt my feelings sometimes when people don't see my vision, because I know that
Yeah.
I'm right and that they're
Yeah.
wrong. And I just don't know if I want to take the time to convince them, or do I care enough to convince them how wrong they are. I'm just going to continue
Yeah.
doing what I do. So,
Yep. Just keep on doing what you're doing. But
so you have any, I did see your new boat. I thought that was really fancy.
yeah, I was out in Portland, Maine here a few days ago. So I try to make funny posts like that wherever I can, you know.
That was hilarious, because I could have taken it a little bit more, because and anybody that doesn't know, it was just basically a destroyed old boat that was ever, and he's joking around about, oh, it just has a little bit of damage, and there's just no way. He's like getting ready to sail the world in it. In this time, humor is so important. There are people out there that would probably make laughter illegal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the funny thing is, almost every one of those, I'm not a social media influencer. I've got, lots of airplane people on Facebook that follow me, but off any one of those posts, I'll always get 3 or 4 private messages, and they're serious. They will always tell me where I'm in error. Like on that boat, I got 2 private messages that told me that boat was not seaworthy. And I'm like, seriously? You want to take the time to send me a private message to tell me that you're a boat person and that you don't think that boat is actually seaworthy? I don't speak about getting a letter from President Trump. It's one of those sales things. And I posted this letter about getting a letter from Trump. I got so much hate mail over that. And I'm like, I'm kidding. I know what it is. It's not a personal and confidential letter from Donald Trump. It's not. I'm just kidding.
Well,
did you see that?
Yeah, I did. Here's the thing. I started my podcast so that I could just be Kim and be who I want, because I have put myself on Facebook. My coach told me I had to be vulnerable one time. And after 350 comments, and most of them were attacking me and telling me how horrible I was, just because I didn't think people needed to wear a mask outside at the farmer's market as long as they social distance, which, by the way, our commissioners decided for me.
Right.
But I was just brutally attacked on there. And it didn't bother me so much, as it did give me a list of people to unfollow. And I don't want, or to hide my post from, because I don't believe I should be attacked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
yeah.
My podcast is, if you listen to an hour of me talking and you have a comment, you know what? You can have that comment. But if you take 3 minutes to read what I put on Facebook, interpret it your way, and then think you can just attack me, then you are wrong. I don't want that. So I started the podcast, so now I can just talk freely.
Yep.
And none of my non-fans are going to take the time to listen. And we have over, we have 80, so we have like over 120 hours worth of podcasts. If you're listening to 120 and you hate me, I don't mind. Just keep listening to my podcast, because we're almost up to my 1,000, and that's all I want is my 1,000. And the other week I had like 100 and some people. We have 25 different states, 5 different countries that listen to this podcast. And somebody has to enjoy it, because they keep coming back to listen to it. So I like to bring people like you. I mean, it's totally different. It's, I know nothing about airplane except for the fact that I like a window seat. And I enjoy my ginger ale, which it's water now, but ginger ale. And I just pray that I get 2 snacks, because some of those stewardess will give you 2.
There you go. Well, here's some information for your listeners on the podcast. Concerning social distancing, you might not know this, but 6 foot is the number. They always say 6 foot. I view that as a maximum, not a minimum. So I try to stay within 6 feet of people. It's all matter how you think about it. But all they said was 6 feet. They said maintain 6 feet. I think that's stay within 6 feet.
6 feet.
So I try to run up to people that I don't know and hug them. And if they freak out, I just say, I'm social distancing. I'm staying within 6 feet. Yeah.
Well, and I always, when they would say stay away from people, and I was like, so I can't just walk up to people in Walmart and hug them anymore? I mean, come on, people. Like, what are you doing? That's my hobby. I love just to walk up and just hug random people, or actually even get close to them. Like, I've always I don't want to be close to them. Although I'm missing my concert. I had Elton John tickets this year to go see Elton John.
Oh,
they moved it 2021, and I'm like, those were expensive tickets. And so I'm still waiting to hear when we're going to be legal to do it. Maybe they'll have like computers sitting in all the seats at the Sprint Center, and then you'll log in on your seat number. You can watch it from your computer, from your seat. I think.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
We're in a crazy time.
We are.
Well, thank you so much.
We are.
For everything. I am going to, when I say goodbye, don't leave, because I still talk to you afterwards, because sometimes they just click off and I'm like, oh, I didn't really get to say thank you.
I need to get you my invoice for this.
Yes. If you could just bill my secretary, she'll get it to you.
Or I could bill Brooks if you want.
Bill Brooks. Yes. Bill Brooks.
I'll do that. We just won't tell him. He'll probably pay it.
Yeah, just send an invoice for Kimology 411, and he'll just be like, I mean, they know you, so they'll just pay you, I'm sure.
They'll just pay it, I'm sure. That's fine.
My normal charge to do podcasts are $10,000. So
exactly. Hey, you know what? I think we just colluded.
Oh my God.
This is how collusion works.
Right.
And we just colluded. Past tense, we did the act of colluding. Now we have colluded, and that is the act of collusion.
Right.
And collusion is a big deal. They said that Trump colluded and was guilty of collusion. So this is how you do it. We just colluded for me to invoice you for a podcast and charge it to someone else. That is collusion. Right. I think you should get turned into the podcast monitors or something. Whoever does this stuff, but we got to be guilty of something, right?
There's got to be a governmental agency that pays $150,000 a year monitor collusions during the podcasts.
Collusion, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. I mean, they almost got Trump on it. You and me are probably fixing to get hung on this thing.
Well,
especially if you publish this podcast, you instigated. You're a collusion instigator, which is a more serious penalty. I just went along with it. So that's all I did. I'm an innocent bystander.
Well, I can tell you that our podcast, the second state that was Virginia. We have over 4% of our people live in Virginia. So we do figure that the DC people listen to our podcast because we have coronavirus ones and COVID in our podcast with Tyson.
Yep.
And so they are listening to us. And I'm like, first of all, this is Kimology. There's no science degree or anything. This is strictly my opinion. I am not spreading anything. This is my opinion. Anybody listening to my podcast will know I'm an accountant and not a doctor. But I thought it was kind of funny that DC they're listening to this podcast. So we're probably
they probably are. Yeah, well, I bet you Biden's listening to this one.
Well,
most likely. Yeah, I get the feeling that I'm being watched.
Being watched.
I think I might be. I think they're watching. I'm suffering from some paranoia, and I'm thinking that they might be watching me.
Might be watching. I have been actually I suffer from fearlessness, which makes people really mad when they try to make me scared. And I'm just kind of like, I'm not going to be scared of that. The life that I've led, this is nothing compared to it. I am coming up with some speaking engagements with a couple different people. And one of them is called Resurviving. And it's helping people who are actually in rehab or from spousal abuse and all the different things that actually have come back, and now they're having to resurvive to get back over it. There's a lot of people. I am going to be talking to people about that because being a survivor of domestic violence, it was very hard when someone told me, you just need to stay home. If you're not going to wear a mask, you need to stay home. And I was like, okay, now you sound like my ex-husband telling me to stay home. And I'm not going to. Like, you're not telling me the right thing here, because I worked really hard to say no. And so
we agree.
We're in a whole
Thanks for having me on. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, you guys, thank you so much for listening to another Superstar segment of Kimology 411.